Good evening, my people. Did you miss me? Hi. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Imani and this is the corner of the internet where I discuss whatever I feel like discussing. Today we will be talking about true crime and I'll make this into a short and sweet. I won't drag it out. I have a lot to talk about. So grab a refreshment, warm yourself up, or I don't know, just get ready to watch the video. Like and whatever now. Realize a lot of people don't get to the end. Like the video now. True crime. I'm sure if you are in the year 2022, you have encountered true crime in one way, shape or form. This is basically documentations of real life crime that is given out to the public for consumption. Today I want to debate or discuss because debate, that means it's too late, and this isn't really too late. I'm just filming myself talk to myself, but feel free to debate in the comments. More so discuss how ethical true crime can be, and is it ethical to consume true crime as a form of entertainment? Where do we draw the line when it comes to what is supposed to be a horrible documentation of like somebody's worst encounter, or a form of media that we consume to just pass by the time? Human beings, I think, have always had a fascination to not only the taboo, but to seeing the darker sides of humanity. And in true crime, that is very much highlighted when we're talking about stories about serial killers, murderers, all the awful things. That is very present in the true crime genre because we are talking about crimes and they're the people that commit the crimes. True crime isn't something that just came up the other day. Granted, it might feel like that because Netflix seems to have a documentary about a new murderer every other day. I don't know how they put it out. Like I said, Netflix is the fast food of entertainment. Ever since the pandemic started, there has been a lot more of an increase in true crime content on true crime media, true crime documentaries. But I remember watching true crime or being exposed to true crime for the first time when I was younger, and my mom used to watch true crime shows and I'd just like sit there and watch it with her and casually like listen in on how somebody was like getting rid of a body. That had its effects. We'll get into it. There's a lot of true crime content coming out nowadays, not only with Netflix, even though I have mentioned them a lot. We're seeing a lot of true crime content on YouTube, actually. This platform, the one that you're on right now, unless you're not on, and then I don't know how you're watching this. A bit weird, but okay. I think this ends up on the dark web or something, and then it becomes like an actual true crime documentary. Like a lot of true crime content has been brought up on YouTube. There's a really big variety of true crime content on YouTube, and it's found itself integrating and merging with other different communities. For example, we have the people who do their makeup whilst talking about true crime stories, or people who are doing mukbangs whilst talking about true crime, or someone just sitting down and presenting a case to you like a casual chat. I'm trying to think of like other subsections, but my brain is blanking right now. But those are just like, I think, the most popular ones or the most visible ones that I have seen. And we're also seeing a lot of crime podcasts. I would know because I consume a lot of them. There are a lot of podcasts revolving around true crime, whether it's cold cases, unsolved cases, that's sort of cold cases, Imani, but solved cases, mysteries, etc, etc. There's a lot of that as well for podcasts. So like I'm saying, human beings are a bit drawn to the dark side sometimes. Oh, that sounds so corny, but it's true. Like, darker things fascinate us a little bit. And I would go as far as to say it's not from a place of maliciousness, but more just morbid curiosity. I think a lot of people, some people, mostly women, almost every woman I know consumes true crime. And that's like a valid way of carrying out a survey. That's how you get statistics, that's how it's done. Just everyone you know, and that's a good measure of the state of the world. obviously. But every woman I know watches true crime or consumes true crime in some way, shape or form. Okay, not everyone, most women that I know. And I would say that a big part of consuming the true crime genre is you're living or experiencing or hearing about an experience, and it's like you're vicariously living through these horrible experiences through these people's stories, even though it's not even like a fraction of what the actual experience is or how it would feel to be in such an awful situation. But you're kind of fulfilling that weird curiosity or that urge to know what happens, or fantasy, not in a good way, but I don't know, can you have bad fantasies? Is that still a fantasy? Is it like a nightmare? I don't know, but like a bad fantasy coming true to you, and now you know, or you think you know what that situation might be like, preparing yourself and storing it in your brain for in case that ever happens, which we hope it doesn't. Which I think a lot of people are guilty of doing that. It's not really because you want to go through it, but it's more internally preparing yourself if you ever go through that, or getting that adrenaline from it. That would be another reason why people enjoy true crime. It's why people like thrillers or horrors. It's living through or simulating. That's the perfect word for it. Simulating these horrible things and putting yourself in this simulation whilst you're consuming this content, and kind of subconsciously living through the story or through the perspective of whoever is telling the story. Hydration break, because I've been talking forever. Drink some water. It's good for your skin, apparently. Now that I've discussed some of the reasons, ow, my nail, it like stabbed my palm. That was so painful. I'm sorry. So much for trying to be serious and composed with this video. I tried. I really did. Okay, back to like serious lecturing Imani. Now that I've discussed one of the reasons why some people might like true crime, let's get into some of the effects of true crime on the people that consume the content, the people that make the content, the general public, the people the content is about. One of the effects of true crime, which isn't an effect that I hear being talked about a lot when it comes to true crime, that's why I'm talking about it first, because I just want to get it out of the way. Consuming a lot of true crime content, and this is something I'm talking about from a personal perspective, might actually really affect your empathy. It leaves you very desensitized to the stories that you are taking in and the energy that you are inviting into your mental space. Sounds a bit hippy-dippy, but it's true. Casually having or listening to, oh, and this person was decapitated and they were cut into pieces, like that shouldn't be something you can just like passively take in, you know? Period. Like something you shouldn't just like casually be able to take that in and not elicit like a proper human response, like a proper empathetic response. And I got this after like listening to podcast after podcast after podcast and just hearing like all these horrible stories, horrible things that happen to people, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I found myself hearing about things in real life and being like, okay, that's not as bad though, because you know, you've been exposed to all these other absolutely horrible things, but that doesn't make the less intense. I don't think you can say less intense crime, because it's all pretty intense. But when you hear about like stories about 20 murders, 3 murders doesn't seem as, oh my god, that's horrible to you. I hope YouTube doesn't flag this video. I am talking about a lot of like graphic things. Might this get age restricted? I don't know. If you're under 18 and watching this, let me know. Well, actually don't comment if you're under 18. There's some weirdos on the internet. Stay safe and vigilant. Don't tell people your age. Not me putting children in danger. Another effect of true crime could be this one pisses me off so much. I'm gonna try and like say it with like some level of composure, but it gets me really riled up, and it's late at night, I can't be screaming. I do not live alone. The glorification or romanticization of criminals. A lot of the time, weird, very weird, but you find that the perpetrators of these crimes aren't received in the public as what they're for. There's this whole mythology that is brought about these criminals, really, like these criminals. Like there's a huge, oh, they're so mysterious and they're so broken and their mind is twisted and how could they do this? But like it's not from a place of disgust, or it might be, but it's a place of fascination, and not fascination in the good kind, the weird fascination. And if we're talking about Tumblr and TikTok, the horny fascination. If I see one more edit of a serial killer on my on my general presence on the internet, I'm going to have to intervene. Don't ask how I will intervene, don't ask what my intervening will entail. Just know that I will intervene. I cannot see another Ted Bundy edit with just like, you're so fucking precious when you smile. So good that YouTube might like fucking, what's it called, copyright that. That was key. But if I see one of those anymore, an intervention is in place. And who will the intervention be done by? Me, because I will be intervening. The glorification of these serial killers, not only is there a mythos around them, they're kind of put on a weird pedestal, and it makes me really angry because a lot of the time this is what the people who commit these crimes want. Attention, notoriety, just fame, whatever it is, you know? This is like giving them exactly what they want, feeding into their egos or whatever, and it makes me really mad. So it makes me so mad it's hard to like articulate my thoughts on it. The romanticization of these criminals. A lot of people have this whole thing that, oh, Ted Bundy was so like charismatic and mysterious and intelligent and he just drawed you in. Was he though? He looked really crusty to me, but hey, we're not here to argue about how cute some serial killers are and who aren't. Another effect of true crime, which is heavily influenced by the last one I could have said, is the victims are heavily affected by true crime. Granted, there are some positive effects of the true crime genre in like sometimes helping victims' families or helping some victims' stories get out there and getting them the publicity that they do deserve. However, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because putting these people's stories out there leaves them and the people around them vulnerable to anyone's opinion. And especially in today's day and age, I do not know how bad it was back in the day before social media, because you know, I wasn't there. But nowadays with social media, like literally anyone can say anything about anyone, and it's just out there, and the victims' families or the victims can just come across that, and I think it would make it hard for someone who's gone through that or been around that, or the story involves, I say story, but it's not even like story. It's hard to reduce it to just a story because it's a real life event. The case, I don't know how I'd refer to it in a way that fully encompasses what it is. I think I'll just say story, but just know that I'm not just saying it's just a story. But it would make it particularly hard for the people who are involved in these stories to move on if it's always out there and like people are always commenting and saying what they think about it. Obviously I can't really talk about it to the extent that someone who's actually gone through it would be able to talk about it from, because luckily I just don't have that perspective. But the way people are talking online sometimes is just really disrespectful, especially for cases that are unsolved or cold. Just have people saying whatever they want to say about whatever and blaming whoever they want to blame and pointing fingers at whoever they want to point fingers at, and like sometimes ruining people's lives, sending hate mail, death threats, doxing. It's intense and it's wild, and it's like re-traumatizing these people or traumatizing them more or further, giving them other trauma, and like these people have not already been through enough. It's really disgusting and gross and a failure of humanity, really. That was really intense. Let's calm back down. I got really heated. Yeah, that's what I get sometimes when I get heated. It's just, now that we've discussed the effects of true crime, it is obvious that this genre is here to stay, and it is not only here to stay, but it is growing in popularity. We're seeing this with the increase of true crime documentaries, podcasts, YouTube videos. I forgot what you post on YouTube. The issue, I think, no longer lies with should we make true crime content, because it might not be ethical, but more for how do we make true crime more ethical and the consumptions of true crime more ethical. And a lot of this would lie between the consumers of true crime and the producers of true crime. Those are not the producers of true crime are criminals. Not the producers of true crime. The producers of true crime content, the people who make this content. English is hard. This is not my language. I'm trying my best. With the viewers and the consumer, I think it would have to be two things. One, to treat these issues, these events, that not just as stories, but give them the tact and the heaviness and the emotion that these real life horrific events, give them the weight that they have, give them the meaning that they're supposed to have. Don't just take them in as a story that you listen whilst you're cleaning the house. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like okay, you can clean your house whilst listening to a podcast, but I'm just saying don't let it become just passive media to consume. Have to really feel it, engage with it, recognize that this is shit that happened to someone for real, like a real life human being just like you. Don't get desensitized to this shit. I'm really cussing a lot. I'm just passionate, what can I say? The second thing, which ties directly into the first thing that I said, which is be empathetic. Recognize that these are real life events. Don't get desensitized to them. Feel what you're supposed to feel for them. I would also say, as a consumer, if you're going to be, like, if you're actively consuming this content, make sure to take some breaks. I know I didn't mention it in the effects part, but I feel I didn't mention it because I don't know if it's for everyone or just for me, but particularly for me, I get really anxious and paranoid when I consume a lot of true crime content, and I find myself having it hinder my real life and being really panicky in places that I wouldn't be panicky of, or making unfound assumptions, or having uninformed biases on certain things where I have really no idea about it. It's just because like I've consumed so much content that has these patterns that I get angsty when those patterns present themselves in real life, or stopping myself from doing things that I would want to do just because like what if I become that one person. I'm not saying live your life recklessly, no. You could live your life and exercise caution, just don't let it hinder you, because these things do not occur as often as you think they would if you consume it a lot. Like, it doesn't happen that much. I feel like you're more likely to get robbed than you are to like be dismembered. I don't know. I actually don't know the statistics on that. I'm just saying so. As for the people who do make this content, it lies heavily with them to make sure they're careful on which perspectives they tell these stories with. If you're telling a story about a murder victim, I do not want to sit here and listen about how this criminal had a really hard childhood and their mom was horrible to them and they had mommy issues, because a lot of people have mommy issues and don't murder people. So, you know, I have no sympathy there. When you're telling these events that happen to people, make sure it lies with the victims and there's an effort to get their story out in a manner that holds their legacy, holds what they were as a person and what they represented and what they stood for and all that. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you have to remember this was a real human being, and when you're telling these stories, you have to honor that. As a creator of this content, you have to remember to honor them and not the perpetrators of said crimes. With the producers as well, as hard as it might be, especially if it's like a documentary or something, you have to approach the topics with the tact that they deserve and try and maintain an unbiased opinion, which is hard because when you think about it, if somebody is telling you a story or something, you've already made up your mind on your side, which side you're on and what you're gonna say and what you think about who and what is involved. But you know, when these things do come out, the viewer has little space to deeply think critically about these issues and tend to just adapt the point of view that the person who's telling them the story has, which is a problem in a lot of the way we consume media nowadays. But I think that's just because we're kind of media literate. I don't know if that means what I think it means. It just, what I mean is like we don't know how to consume and think about media anymore. So maybe that's a problem that's also bleeding into true crime. But I'd like to see more unbiased tellings of these things to allow people the space to think about these stories deeply and actually visualize and internalize and come up with their own opinions. I'm a big lover of true crime and I have been for a really long time. So this is not me necessarily shitting on the genre, but more pointing out the errors here. But that's not to say that true crime doesn't do a lot of good. Sometimes it helps to solving a lot of cold or unsolved cases. It helps shine the spotlight on cases that are otherwise forgotten and swept under the rug. Mostly cases about, or cases involving minority groups that just doesn't get the news time that it deserves. So true crime is really essential in doing that, or having people who are incarcerated, having their stories be brought to the light. And I don't know, sometimes a lot of people are in jail for crimes they didn't commit, and true crime is good at shining the light on that and helping get those people the justice that they deserve. And it's also worked hand in hand sometimes with law enforcement to provide evidence and do all those things. So that's not to say that the genre is without its benefits, because it does have good in it, but you have to work hard to make sure that the bad doesn't overshadow the good, and that a lot of it comes in being a conscious consumer and not letting these just become stories or content that you consume, not taking away the humanity out of these things. We made it! Was that intense? I think a little bit. I'm not used to making intense videos. I'm always more on a silly, goofy vibe on this channel, talking about nonsense. But yeah, here we are. If you like this video, make sure to like this video. I've talked a lot, so it's your turn. I said this is a debate. Comment down below what you think, what you have to say, how you're feeling. Tell me I look nice. If you have nothing to say, tell me I look nice, because I know I do. Subscribe to see me whenever you see me. I don't think I have a consistent schedule, but I'm trying. It's my New Year's resolution. Should I say it out loud? I'm trying to like get a somewhat. Let me not jinx it. I'll upload whenever I upload, and it'll be nice when I do. That's it. I'll see y'all later. Continue watching my face. I have videos here, there. Bye.
It's 5:50 something and I feel so empty inside.